Is somebody making bombs in the parking lot of Walmart? Is somebody in the sock department doing something that I don't know about? Reporting suspicious activity. Does this include shoplifters? Because if it does, why is the Department of Homeland Security now at my local Walmart? The top down. Those you see marching in Europe, those setting fire by releasing stolen documents are looking for chaos. Responsible citizens of the U.S. are looking for transparency and accountability and limited government. Do not confuse the two goals. The enemy of your enemy is not your friend. That kind of thinking is what led to our nightmares in the Middle East. I don't believe going for chaos, but I do believe in limited government. I believe in government, but limited. This is not the way to get that. We haven't had limited government in I don't know how long, 100 years? The ways to get limited government is not to collapse it. That is a way to get totalitarian government. That is what revolutionaries do, especially if they are looking for state capitalism. Bottom up, inside out, top down. The bottom is coming up. Van Jones has talked about it and is now talking about the need for more inside out.
We've been trained not to have power. We've been trained to protest. We've been trained to critique and to be mad at massa. We have not been trained to grab the whip and put it down and run the plantation. That's not what we've been trained to do. And so I would argue that it's the inside-out transformation that will ignite the bottom-up transformation that will make the top-down transformation work. There's other systems of power that we were not taking seriously, and they have to do with the media. They have to do with the racial discourse in the media, and that's the next frontier.
The media is the next frontier. Julia Assange is part of that. That is where the battle is. We have already seen class warfare. We've already seen racial discontent. Now they're really turning the heat up on the rich. Oh, the evil rich, blah-de-blah-de-blah-de. Well, may I ask, is it fair to say if the Tea Partiers were causing all of this discontent and the violence in the streets, which we have not seen, can we now target those like Van Jones and everyone else in the administration who are making us hate the rich? Can we now say that the arsonists in Cape Cod who are targeting wealthy homes to destroy, can we now say Van Jones is to blame? You see how ridiculous this is. By the way, in Cape Cod, they wrote F the rich at the scene. This is what they're going to use as their weapon, this and race.
Rush Limbaugh has the right to say whatever he wants to say. He does not have the right to do it, though, on publicly regulated airwaves. The FCC has a responsibility to set standards to say the public cannot be offended based on their race or their gender in this country and use federally regulated airwaves that they give licenses to that are very competitive, and the FCC is very selective based on standards.
May I ask you two questions? Do you think it's reasonable that you are going to spend your whole life not being offended? Who deems what's offensive and what is not? Government? If you don't wake up your friends and family and your neighbors, we are in for tough, tough times because a lot has changed while we were all sleeping. They were not sleeping. The left has been preparing and indoctrinating. I will show you what you're up against. This is a new video from a 15-year-old kid in London. Watch this.
We know what they're up to. They think that if they kettle us now, we're not going to come on a demonstration ever again. Well, let the word go out from today, people said. Let the word go out about next Tuesday. Let the word go out about next week and next month and next year, that they can't stop us demonstrating. They can't stop us fighting back. And however much they try to imprison us in the streets of London, those are our streets, and we will always be there to demonstrate. We will always be there to fight.
Where are those children for the Republic? Where are those children for the Constitution and the founders. You must teach your children the truth of our country. This kid's 15 years old. 15 years old. Ours are on Facebook and Xbox. If we are not prepared, this scene, if we don't get them off of Xbox, this scene is going to look like this. Prepare your children so they can defend the Republic in thought and heart. Back in a minute. We're back in New York with our senior judicial analyst at Fox News, Judge Andrew Napolitano, host of Freedom Watch on the Fox Business Network, and a very good friend of mine. Judge, let me ask the audience, how many people are uncomfortable with Julian Assange being allowed to just do what he's doing right now? Okay. How many people want to shut him down, have the government shut him down? Okay, maybe 5? Okay. And they're kind of tentative because I think you feel like, uh-oh, I'm the oddball in the class. Is that what's going on? Put your arm up, man.
They don't want me to bite their heads off.
Here's the thing, Judge. Here's the thing. I am uncomfortable. There's no good win here. If he continues, he is an enemy of the state. If he continues, he is taking stolen documents and putting them out, and there are some things that should be kept secret in diplomacy. However, he's exposing the lies of our government.
The thief who steals the document is the one who commits the crime. The person who disseminates them, as long as they are truthful documents, does not commit the crime. That's the Pentagon Papers case. Now, a lot of people were offended by it at the time. It proved that the buildup to the Vietnam War was a hoax, and the government knew it and lied to us about it.
Right.
And 50,000 people died in the Vietnam War, whether you think it was right or wrong at the time. Julian Assange, I don't know what his motivation is. You think his motivation is chaos.
No, I don't think. I know. I've read his own words.
If his motivation is chaos, that's horrendous. I agree with you, because out of chaos comes a Hitler. Out of chaos comes a Lenin and a Stalin. Yes. But if his motivation is to expose the truth, he is to be applauded for that. Because in a mature democracy, we have a right to know what the government is doing in our name. Whether it is lying, cheating, stealing, or killing, we have the right to know that.
Look at the people. First of all, that is his goal, because he has said it himself. Look at the people who he surrounds himself with. They're all Marxists, they're communists, they're revolutionaries, et cetera, et cetera. The media doesn't have a leg to stand on. They won't print the documents on climate change, where the government was doing exactly the same thing.
Well, one of the things he revealed is that the United States government committed fraud and bribery at the Copenhagen conference in order to get other countries to agree with us.
You don't hear that, do you?
I suspect the New York Times and some of our other friends in the media have known that for a while.
Yes.
Now they're happy to talk about it. Even though these are inconvenient truths, to quote a certain person, we have the right to know these truths. When the government does evil in our names and lies about it, we should know it.
Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just read their own words.
Right.
And in their own words, they've been looking for a way to control the internet, control information. Cass Sunstein is all over this kind of stuff. The people who are reaching out and saying, we got to stop this guy, those very things to stop him. Because really, tell me the difference. Besides, I obtain my information legally. Tell me the difference between Julian Assange and what he's doing and what I'm doing.
Well, there's a lot of people who would like to stop you and me and those of us who are not afraid to take on the government when it is exceeding the Constitution. To the government, the Constitution is just an impediment to get around or to evade. To the rest of us, it is the rule of law which restrains the government. The Constitution was written to keep the government off the people's backs, and the government doesn't like that. Now, one of the ways you restrain the government is by exposing it. And that's why we have the Supreme Court opinion. Glenn, the Pentagon Papers decision and several decisions after it gut the Espionage Act of 1917.
Thank goodness.
Which Woodrow Wilson wrote to suppress dissent, not to get rid of dangerous human beings, but people who were challenging him and challenging our effort in World War I. It's still on the books, but the guts of it is gone because of our attitude about the First Amendment, which is that truth trumps secrecy, and freedom of speech trumps the government's comfort. And individuals, not the government, will decide what they can say, speak, think, read, hear, and observe.
Does anybody know what the biggest terrorist act on the United States soil was prior to 9/11? Do you know, Judge?
Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor. It was actually in Woodrow Wilson's administration, and it was a munitions depot right across the water from where the World Trade Centers came down. It was done by German spies, and it was such a spectacular bombing that one of the artillery shells actually pierced the Statue of Liberty. Has anyone ever heard that? It is a fascinating story, and we're going to tell that story next year. It is a fascinating story. Woodrow Wilson blamed it on business. He said it was big business that did this, and sloppy, shoddy, et cetera, because it didn't work to his advantage at the time for the Germans to be exposed.
Because we weren't ready to take them on.
Exactly right.
Shouldn't we have known? Wouldn't we have been a healthier society had we known that Wilson was lying and made this up?
Yes. This kind of stuff has been happening for an extraordinarily long time. My concern is, Judge, is that people don't understand, because there is no transparency on who's funding all of this stuff, what people's motives are. You're taking one set of liars and exchanging them for a much more dangerous set of liars.
Look, I don't know where any of this is going to end up, but I know the government's behavior has been reprehensible.
Yeah.
I'm Brett Baer in Washington with a Fox News alert. President Obama is about to make a statement in the White House briefing room concerning today's Senate vote on his tax rate deal with congressional Republicans. The Senate today decided to move forward with the package. The vote total right now is 80-10. That vote is still